So I think we're live now. For anyone listening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're listening. I'm William. I'm the founder of Hackmamba. And I think today is sort of a very eventful day because this is the first of these streams where we'll be talking about everything outside code. If you're a developer listening to this, you're in the right spot. If you are someone from the business side, you're also in the right spot because today we're going to be talking about all the different business processes that technology enthusiasts and engineers have to go through to ship product and turn that into a business. And today I have the amazing Joe Previte with me, and we'll be having a fun conversation. So, Joe, you could just introduce yourself, and we could get things going.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, William, it's awesome being here. Hey, everybody. I'm Joe Previte. I'm based in the U.S. in Arizona. Currently, I work as a senior full stack engineer at a company called Mercury. And yeah, outside of work, I do a lot of indie hacking. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that. Maybe some language learning stuff and some courses like educational products. So excited to be here.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for being the first guest on this session, Joe.
Mm.
So for anyone listening, if you have any questions, you could just leave them in the comments. And if you want to leave a shout out, maybe where you're from or whatever, just put it in the comments as well. We will take those as we go. So yeah, Joe, you talk about indie hacking. What is even indie hacking? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I was actually just talking to someone yesterday about it. The way that I really, it's an entrepreneur, and the way I think about an indie hacker is most likely somebody who is going to bootstrap, meaning they're not going to raise money from a VC or something or take angel investments. They're most likely going to self fund their business.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like the small people, right? Like the people who
Yeah.
are just doing it on their own with their own money.
Ah, so does this mean you haven't thought about raising money at any point in time when building something?
Well, it's interesting because so I believe that like the term indie hacker was coined by Cortland Allen, who started indiehackers.com. Um, I mean, there are people in the community who do raise money, but I think the whole idea of it is like I see it as an alternative path, right? Rather than like going Y Combinator or just going and finding VCs. But what about you? I mean, you are an indie hacker, so what do you think
Yeah.
about it?
I think it's as the spirit leads. One day,
Yeah.
you just want to build something to solve your own problems, your personal like problems, and then the next day you're like, oh, this could actually be big, and maybe I'll turn it into a company, and you just have wired ideas, and you see, kind of feel it out, see how it goes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Because and I think a lot of people in the indie hacker community kind of talk about that of like it's not necessarily where you're anti VC. It's more of like, maybe you want to work on a small tool and you don't need like $10 million in,
yeah,
a series, like a pre-seed fund. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so I guess you're right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think there's two sides to it.
yeah. That's right. What are you working on currently? There's like a lot of stuff I see on like Twitter, for instance. You've got like what, five different like products or tools from courses. What's like the latest thing you're working on, or even what's all this stuff you've got going on?
Yeah, so I think, we were kind of talking about this before we went live, but for me, like the dream would be able to just like own my own business and be able to do that full time. Um, Obviously it's very difficult, it's like a long journey. And so for me, I've been kind of placing small bets, so to speak. So like and I'll drop some links here for the folks in chat. How much to make was is a website that I started where it was like, if you're going to sell a product for $50 and you want to make 10 grand in 5 months, how do you do it? Um, so, just trying different projects like that. I think right now I'm trying to validate some ideas in the language learning space because that's like what I'm excited about.
Ooh.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm trying things, taking shots.
Yeah, that's great. How'd you come up with these bets? How'd you come up with like the ideas for like? Do you go with like trends, like the language stuff, or um, did this like? Do you have like shower thoughts? How did this come?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so it's interesting. Am I able to share my screen? Can I share my screen on this?
I think so.
Okay, let me try. Let me try presenting and seeing if this works.
Yeah,
Um,
try presenting.
okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Nope. Oh,
Oh, wait, wait.
I have to
You
add
got to
it to
switch.
the
Okay.
stage. So yeah,
Okay. So yeah, so like one of the things I'm thinking about right now is like, the first thing I've thought about is what is the industry or the area that I'm excited about? Like who are the people that I want to, I guess, surround myself with or serve as customers. Um, and right now, like I'm, candidly obsessed with like language learning. So it's like, okay, let's find a business idea in that area. And so, for folks who might know, like Levels IO is a pretty well known indie hacker.
yeah,
Um, and this was kind of a tweet that stuck out to me and a lot of people last year, where he was like, if I'd want to validate a startup in 2023, oops, this is what I would do. And so I'm trying this. This is the idea. So I was like, okay, let's come up with like 30 ideas for things and let's make TikTok videos about them and put up like a Stripe payment link and see if people buy. And so that's kind of how I'm tackling this right now.
yeah. Oh, okay. That's a good strategy. So, is it set on stone that is just creating a payment link and then creating like TikTok videos, or is there like a broader go-to-market strategy you typically explore with these ideas? All of them.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for this approach, I think it's kind of like let's try TikTok as the distribution channel. Um, I'm going to share a different screen real quick and kind of talk about how I've been thinking about that. So product hunt. Okay, can you see the Trello board?
Yeah.
So for instance, one of the projects I was talking about is this like howmuchtomake.org.
Hmm.
And so like from my developer learning about marketing, the way I've kind of thought about this is like, how am I going to distribute my product? Um, and so the first thing was like coming up with a bunch of ideas of like, where could I post it, right? Hacker News, X or Twitter. Um, there's an indie hackers group called IH. There's an indie hackers subreddit. So kind of coming up with these distribution channels and being like, okay, these are the areas where I'm going to like launch it. Um, so that's kind of how I'm approaching it now. Like when I have a project, it's like, where am I going to launch it?
Yeah. This looks really like well thought out. And I guess you make this a template on Trello, right? So you have this for like any project.
I should make it. Yeah, I should. I manually copied it, but great idea because
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
We
done it
have
like
something
twice
similar,
now.
Hack Mamba for content. So we have like the same, we have like templates on Trello um for all the articles we create. But this looks like a really good
Yeah.
strategy. Um, do you have to like what's been successful for you, right? So for all these channels that you've tried,
Mhm.
TikTok, posting it on Twitter, which has been like the most successful for you today?
Yeah, and actually I'm just gonna make it easier and I'll share that window. So we don't have to go back and forth. Yeah, I think the one thing that I noticed was so like a project that's targeted at like the indie hacker, the entrepreneur, like
Hmm.
this kind of thing. Those for me do well on Twitter, but they don't do well on like hacker news. Um, and
Okay.
then for the language learning stuff, like there's a project, this was like to help you find new vocabulary in Spanish. Um, that tends to do well on like a Reddit or Hacker News. Um, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Have you seen anything similar of like X content works on X distribution channel?
Yeah. So for us, I mean, even recently, I told you folks at Hackman that we've seen that technical content
Yeah.
resonates with folks on Twitter and X, right?
Yeah.
Whereas something more like businessy, we go for like LinkedIn. And recently,
Sports.
because of our audience, we don't have like a lot of like content that's suited for TikTok or all of the more like personal social media. But we're starting to think about those as well. But yeah, we've seen that certain content types resonate with certain channels. And in the past, we used to send the same content to like both channels. That's how that's how we figured it out also from that sort of like informal experimentation. You just realize, oh, yeah, it doesn't work if we talk about like, here's how you can like increase pipeline growth. If you put that on Twitter,
Yeah.
no one looks at it. No one even
Totally.
sees it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, yeah, very channel like specific. You need to understand the channel, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting though. Like I feel like that's not an obvious thing. Like I had to learn that as a developer, and I'm sure maybe there's people in the audience who resonate with that. Um, how did you go about learning that? Like how did you figure all that out?
Oh, as a developer, um,
Yeah.
so I just had like a lot of like introspection, right? So I'm always like looking out for what works and what doesn't work. um at Hack Mamba, we have this thing where we have like monthly reports, and the monthly reports are basically what worked, what didn't work, what should we keep doing, and what should we stop doing, right? Instead of just pouring out numbers. And that's sort of like, just helped us. So we look at this is what we did, this is where we shared like all the content, and it sort of worked this month, right? Why did it work? Well, just asking why. And
Mhm.
we all come from like different technical backgrounds. A lot of us haven't done it before, but that just helped us see, what worked, help us learn that also on the fly. So just keeping an eye out and being like open to collecting that informal feedback and just searching. If you search, you'll find. If you don't, you won't find anything.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
that's basically been the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the big things for me, like a little eye opener, was like I hadn't ever really like put analytics on my projects. So I had no idea how much traffic I was getting. And then I finally did with
Oh,
these 2 projects, and like I'm like,
yeah.
okay, now I can see like Hacker
Wow.
News drives this much, and you know, Twitter
Okay.
so
What analytics tools do you use?
I started using one that was by another indie hacker. It's called Beam Analytics. I'll drop a link to
Oh,
you. Have you
I
heard of
think I
that?
heard of Beam. I heard of Beam somewhere. Yeah, sometime I was trying to do like code outreach. I think I found all the tools on
Yeah.
earth.
That's funny.
Yeah. I use Post Hog for analytics now, and it's sort
How
of
do you
like,
like Post Hog?
I think as I started using it as a product manager, right?
Okay.
And it's sort of like an all-in-one tool. So you get like event analytics, you get like screen recordings in
Oh,
them as well,
that's
and
nice.
you get feature flags. So it sort of just took like Hotjar, Launch Darkly, and Google
Yeah.
Analytics, put them together, and it's open source, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
the pricing is also great. So for an indie hacker, I was like, yeah, this is like the holy grail. Um, so it's sort of like the first one of the first tools I install once I start any project. Previously, it would be Google Analytics. I just threw that
Mhm.
in so I know like what's happening, even though we will not get traffic. But yeah, just to see, yeah, what's going on there. Have you tried any of like the salesy approach to like um selling? Basically, if you've done like B2B sales, any of like
Mm.
cold outreach, um, try to reach like the enterprise, even with like the indie products.
That's a good question. A little bit. There was like once in the past, I think it was, I want to say like either 2019 or 2020. Um, I tried doing this thing where it was kind of like a live stream package for companies. So kind of like content where I'd be like, let me build with your API or your tool. And I'm going to build in public and do it on Twitch, like, Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. or something. Um, and I would cold DM like CEOs and founders of startups on Twitter. Um, and I got like one sale. I don't think I ever got anything more than that. So it was
Oh,
something, but
okay. Yeah.
That's the extent of my B2B outreach.
Yeah, you got a sale. That's huge.
One sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge with B2B outreach. Definitely.
Yeah.
How did you like package it? Did you like think it previously, like when putting out like a package for like, founders? Was there like any
Mhm.
strategy to, you're just like, hey, let me just put this thing together and try to pitch to founders?
Yeah, so I think the reason that it had happened, let me see. Okay, let me share. I'll share some. Let me share my screen again. Um,
Okay.
okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the story behind this, what happened was, I don't. It's not happening as much these days, but I don't know. Early Twitter days, like again, like 2 years ago, companies would be like, reach out to me and be like, "Hey, let's do a collaboration." I'm like, "Cool, let's do something." Um, And it happened so many times where I was like, okay, let's try and like turn this into a business. And so I came up with this like collaboration ideas or opportunities. And so I used to have a job board so you could post on that. Um, I started offering this like product feedback kind of package. Um, I think I sold like I upped the price on this, but I had sold like one before for maybe like $500. Um, and then the live stream series, which was like, hey, let's do 4 1-hour sessions. I'll turn it into a playlist on YouTube. We'll do tweets before and after. Um, and then the final one was like a job referral, which was a little bit more like, you tell me what role you're looking for, and like I'll go tap my network and find a great engineer. Um,
This is the hustle. I'm impressed.
so yeah, like, but the thing that and I'd love to hear your perspective on this is like, it was just hard. It was like, you reach out to like 50 companies and only one says yes, So like I kind of gave up on it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. With cold outreach, it's been a numbers game. Um, I've had to change like strategies every other week when
Yeah.
thinking about like cold outreach of like the messaging. I mean, we have like pretty set products we sell, which is technical content marketing.
Yeah.
But how we sell that, especially because people do not want to be sold to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, including like our buyers, right? So our buyers are CMOs, VPs of marketing. They're pretty like busy people, and they get sold to all the time by so many different like vendors and products. So they're used to like cold outreach, and they don't respond. So you have to like try to find a way to get through all that noise, and it's really difficult. And also, I figured it's a game of numbers,
Mhm.
right? With emails, we've had some success. We've had like some meetings. Some folks, want to they want to talk to us, learn, especially if we hit where it hurts. So if we sell the pain, like a painkiller, while they're having the pain, then they want to talk to us. That's
Mhm.
also something. And it's finding those organizations, or not even the organizations, but the person that has the pain. That's the challenge here, because some companies, they have problems, but not everyone cares. But
Yeah.
there's someone there that actually cares about like that problem and wants to fix it. So finding that person, that's something I've found that's been beneficial um to us. And it's usually just emails. We calls, we haven't had like much like success. I just hear about people calling and closing deals on the news. I don't think it happens in real life because you call.
You're like, yeah, this is gotta be a movie. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, no,
yeah.
this has to be a movie, because you call people and they're like, they just hang up. Or
Yeah.
you call someone in France and you speak English, they hang up right away.
Mm,
Yeah. So we also learn like how geography affects the different channels you want to employ. Um,
mhm.
that folks in the US, no, hell no, do not call anyone there. I think they get called by all sorts of brands and companies.
Dude, it's bad. I had like literally like the iPhone, it has like silence unknown callers. Like I have that on because
Yeah,
otherwise you just get spam calls all
yeah.
the time.
Wow, yeah. So that I had to figure out from experience, right? Actually getting through and
Yeah,
calling, and you can tell the person is pissed at why their spam filter didn't catch this call, right?
literally.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had experience with sales outreach, but as an agency, it's sort of like our primary mode of sales, right?
Mhm.
But we've seen that inbound works more, right?
Mm.
I told the team internally that inbound is king, so you need to just either position yourself or create enough value for people to come to you, right? So
Yeah.
it's like every other human relationship. You want folks to like approach you first, right? You want them to perceive the value you have to offer, and then they will come. So that's sort of like the method we're taking and still doing like the cold outreach because it's more. I see it as fitness. It's like a workout, we're building we're building character and building muscle
Yeah.
with those. Yeah.
How do you find, so you mentioned like finding customers when they're experiencing that pain. How do you
hmm
think about that? Like, how do you find, uh, yeah, how do you think about that?
Yeah. So with every pain, there are usually like symptoms, right? There are signs. Uh,
Okay.
Personally, since I sort of run like the sales outfit at Hackmamba, I look for a number of things, right? So
Okay.
I'm looking at the market in general, right? I'm looking at sentiment, broader sentiment across the market. How are people talking about stuff? How aggressive are businesses are at selling their own products, right?
Hmm.
So how aggressive are they at marketing? That tells me, oh, something is probably like wrong internally. Maybe not wrong, but pressing, right? So if they're selling aggressive, like extra aggressive, everyone on the team is selling. Um, then I start to think, oh, maybe they need like more revenue or they need some help. So I'm drawn to want to talk to them or find out. So I want to do
Yeah.
extra research on them, right? So I started to look out for when they last raised like fund, what their revenue numbers could be, what customers say about them, go on Trustpilot to see what reviews about their product looks like. So if they have a community, I go into like a community as well to see like what are people saying, what does engagement look like in there. That gives me like signs of like, okay, maybe there's something here. Then I look at the team. I see
Mhm.
how lean they are operating, or the different roles they have. Depending on the size of the organization, certain roles are evident. So, for instance, I look at like content organizations or content teams in these organizations. If they have like a head of content, but there's no one else on the content team, and that's like a sign of, okay, they probably will need our help, right? Because they're marketing aggressively. There's just a head of content, but there are no like authors, no content writers, um, and they're not publishing content as much as they should, right? This is this These are just symptoms that tells me, oh, okay, there's probably something here. Then I would do a couple of things. I would either try to go directly, like talk to whoever is the head of content, connect with them, see if I have like any network around them I could go through, or I just like craft like the best cold email I can think of at the time and send it out to them, right? And hope they would bite and just follow up one or two times. After the third time, I never follow up again because I just know, yeah, it's not a pain. If it's a pain, they'll bite. So that's sort of, it's a lot of like work, a lot of like
Yeah.
research, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like investigating a lot of things as well.
Make it sound so easy, like I know it's not easy, but yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, like even just looking at, yeah, who are they hiring for? Like, do they have a head of content, but they're hiring a developer advocate or a technical writer? And you're like, okay, well, we can help you fill that gap until you fill the role. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, that makes perfect
yeah,
sense.
yeah, that's right. The question I had is, seeing that you're like an engineer, right? How do you balance like the mental shift between
Mm.
managing all these distribution processes, these go-to-market strategies, and software engineering? right? Because it's a
Mm.
huge difference thinking about like building systems to how do I want to convince someone to give me $1,200 for something, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. I think it was like within the last year or two, I had this mental shift, like kind of like a wake up call where I was like, I might have, like, I've been coding long enough, like 6, 7 years, um, where my technical skills aren't the thing holding me back. It's like, it's
Okay.
not like we, especially today, like we have like ChatGPT, Copilot, uh, Cody by SourceGraph. Like you can really build almost anything. And so I don't feel like the barrier is the technical barrier that it was before. At least that's how I view it. And so for me, it's like I need to learn copywriting. I need to learn sales. I need to learn marketing. Because it's like again, if I just build these tools, like, but I don't have a distribution channel or a plan, like nobody's going to use them. Like even if I add analytics, like you look, it's like if I show you the analytics right now, um, I'll share my screen again real quick. You can see that there's these like spikes. Um, so if we look in the last 28 days, okay, you see this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can't remember when I added analytics. It might have been around, Christmas time, but like
Yeah.
literally there's no users, right? You get, and then,
Mm-hmm.
you share it. Like this was a spike on Hacker News and then it dies down, right? And like yesterday was the 10th or today's the 10th. There's been 7 people who have come to visit. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a wake up call. It's like, it doesn't matter how many more cool features I add. Like if it's not useful in the state that it's in, or I don't have like a distribution channel, like nobody's going to come use it.
Hmm. Yeah. So does this sort of like influence your product roadmap? Do you even have one? Right. So do you think, oh, okay, here's what traffic looks like. What should I build next? Should I try to
Mm,
build features that would drive user acquisition? Or how do you think about your product roadmap in relation to traffic that you get?
mm. It's funny. So at work, like because of the team that I'm in the growth org, we talk about that a lot. So it's more fresh, top of mind. Um, it's interesting. I mean, like the project I showed you is this. I'll drop a link in private chat for you to share. This is like it's pretty niche. It's in the language learning field or area. It's for finding new vocabulary in Spanish. So it's a small market. Um, so yeah, like people have said like, oh, can you add this? Can you add this? But like if I got 7 users today and I haven't even talked about it, like there's probably, I don't know, like for me, I kind of put it on the shelf for now. And I'm like, if if I have 100 people knocking on my door saying add this feature, then it's like, okay, I should probably add it. But like if
Hmm.
it's 2 people who are just have a microphone and are super loud, like I don't know if
Yeah.
those features are going to, you know what I mean? Like it's the people who
Yeah.
speak up who want those. So
Huh.
I put it on hold and I'm like, let me try another project because I want to get to a point where something has revenue. And so like me adding features to a project that has a low user and like no revenue model, like it's not a good use of my time right now.
Yeah.
So
Huh. I've run into something similar in the past. It's sort of like an egg and chicken situation where you need to do some marketing. You need to invest in like
mhm,
getting people to see it. And probably you're going to get
mhm.
enough users that would validate the features for you. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you don't want to build if it's just 2 people screaming at you to
Yeah.
build stuff. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough. Is vocab miner the LLM based stuff, the product you're building?
No LLM stuff. That is vocab miner is like just client side only, like no AI stuff. It's like basically the way that it works is like let's say let's say you're watching a video on YouTube,
Hmm.
of like some YouTuber from Spain. You download the transcript, like the subtitles, you throw it in this tool, and then what it'll do is like find all the unique words and show you like word by word. And then you can put like I know it or I don't know it. And at the end, you have a list of words that you could study, like new words. So it's building
Oh,
your vocabulary.
yeah. I think that's really cool. I've been learning Norwegian for the last 900 days on
Oh my
on
gosh.
Duolingo. So I think this is something I want to try. At least
Yeah.
try with like
Yeah.
short shows and like video clips I find in Norwegian and use it to translate that.
Yeah.
Where did inspiration come from? I see you've got like Italian origins, like ancestry.
Oh yeah,
Did it
yeah.
come from
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, so my great grandparents immigrated to the US from Italy. Um
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know, like I growing up, I took Spanish in high school and kind of fell in love with like speaking another language.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, like it opens doors, right? Like I'm sure do you speak any other languages?
So aside my native Nigerian language, Igbo,
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't claim Norwegian just yet. No,
Yeah.
still
Not
very
not yet,
horrible.
but yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but like right now, for example, right? Like English isn't your native language, but here we are like having this conversation with all these people in chat. Like to me, that's kind of the the mindset shift where I was like, if I learn Spanish or if I learn Italian, like I can consume more content, I can meet other people. Like it just opens doors, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true. This is definitely like a really good product. If there was something that would help me watch shows, um, because my girlfriend forces me to like, or not forces me, but wants me to watch more like Norwegian shows,
Yeah,
so I could learn Norwegian, but it gives me like headaches
dude.
to
Okay,
follow like
why?
subtitles.
Oh, okay, okay,
It's
okay.
just like the mental gymnastics of like having to follow subtitles and translate them in real time to English before I understand them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. So if there was something that could fix my problems, maybe this
Okay.
would help.
Yeah. Yes. Real quick, maybe let me share my screen again. Is
Okay.
s- uh oh, it keeps asking me for these tips. Okay. Um so what's really cool is there's this
Mhm.
like community called Refold. And the whole idea, it's kind of like it's a framework for learning languages. So they've got this guide here. Um but like one of the ideas that I pulled from it was like using native content to learn, right? So, like for you, if you found like a children's show in Norwegian and you started watching that, um, and to basically like immerse yourself in the content, and then eventually you get
Yeah.
to a point where it's like second nature. Um, so yeah, this is a really cool framework that I would recommend to anyone. Um,
Yeah.
they've got a bunch of like Discord communities too. I wonder if they have one for Norwegian, maybe. Um,
Most likely not.
Most
But
like
who
yeah,
knows?
most likely not, I guess. Yeah. But it's super cool, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So I'm curious, is all this fun? Not just, the technology side of things, but
Yeah.
also the business side of things. Is it fun? Do you have fun learning all this like boring stuff and having to try out? Because I think it's the
Yeah.
boring stuff for engineers, for
Yeah.
like the business people, it's the interesting stuff. So do you find it interesting? Do you find it motivating to continue and you know
Mhm.
keep learning?
Dude, that's a good question. I think it's hard, right? Because like with engineering, like when you're like, okay, I want a function that adds two numbers. You write it, you use it, you could
Yeah.
write a test for it. Like there's a like instant gratification. Versus with marketing and sales, it's like, okay, like sales, I'm going to send 50 DMs. I have no idea how many are going to close into a sale. Um, so that can be boring sometimes because it's like going to the gym. Like you got to go in and do the reps. Versus like engineering is like instant gratification. So that does get boring a little bit, the marketing
Mhm.
side. And so I'm always trying to figure out ways to make it more fun.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, cause like, you write an article, you share it, like, if it's a hit and you get a bunch of shares, like, you feel good. But if it gets,
Hmm.
like, no likes, you're like, "Oh, did I just waste my time?" So,
Yeah.
I don't know, how do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. I sort of like it, you know. I like trying stuff, but over like a longer period, it starts to get like sad.
Yeah.
It's like you send
Yeah.
out like you send out 200 emails and you probably get one
Yes.
response, and the person is like really rude, or you get a response and they're not even rude, they're just like unsubscribe.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only thing they say. And you're trying to sell them something. You're like, oh man, am I gonna be homeless for real? that's that's the kind of feeling you
Oh
start to
man.
get. Like,
Literally.
oh, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I need to go think about something else. But yeah, definitely we engineering. You build something, you ship some to production, just by it working, even though no one uses it, just that it works, you kind of feel good. You feel like you've had like a good day's job. So something I try to do some days is to mix both, right? So
Mm,
I have like during the day I do a lot of like the sales stuff, the admin stuff, marketing, and then at night I write some code, right? So I'm
okay.
always building something. So I just push something and I see it live, or I do something that sort of blends both. So write copy for a website where I have to actually like write Tailwind, like write Tailwind
Yeah.
classes
Yeah. Yeah.
for it, right? So I have to actually write code, but it's just me writing copy for a website, rethinking the copy, and I send it to someone for feedback. That's also something I do. So if my
Mm,
friends are on this stream, they can attest that I send them copy in the middle of the night. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you understand what this product does or what this page says? And they're like, yeah, I totally get it. Then I feel good. I'm like, oh, okay, at least I did something noteworthy and we're on course for the day. Yeah. Mhm.
that's I like that because it's like your own feedback loop because it's like it's a real
Yeah.
person. They're gonna tell you how
Hmm.
they feel. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that kind of helps solve the boringness.
Yeah. Yeah. It does definitely help. And how did you learn? So how did you learn all these? Is it like informally? Are there like courses on YouTube? Do you have to like go and buy a book that says here's how to sell on TikTok
Mm,
in 30 days, or here's how to make $1 million from Twitter in a week?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's a good question. I mean, like I there's a lot of people I learned from on Twitter. Probably the like probably the two that kind of come to mind. One is called Marketing Examples. Have you heard of that one? I'll put the link.
No.
Um, and then the second one is called My First Million, which is like a podcast.
Oh, by Shan and Sam.
Yes. Are you a fan?
Yeah, man. Top
Yeah.
fan.
It's
I think they inspired this, like these sessions I'm having on everything outside
really?
code. Yeah.
Uh,
Because I was like, I think one session, one of them talked about creating content in voice or in the format that you're comfortable with,
yeah.
right? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start making YouTube videos. But yeah, I
Dude.
follow them a lot. I started watching them since July, and it's been jams back to back. I probably know like everyone that comes on the show, but it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. So similar to you. I mean, like I listened to that a lot more probably last year. But
Hmm.
yeah, it just gets me going, like, it gets me excited about just because they on the podcast, for those who aren't familiar, they break down a lot of business ideas, and it's like, it just gives me new ways to think about things, like, Levels IO, like, he inspires a lot too of what I do. Um, so yeah, I would say just learning from people on Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah,
I would say the same as well. Listening to my first million and going to play basketball, I have it like in my ears,
yeah,
listening to like them talking about someone that started from zero, sold their first business, and then they went on to like do some other thing, and now they own like either like an investment firm. That's how they've arrived, is when they own like like an investment company. Then yeah, they did hit it big the last time. But yeah, I listened to them. Um, so I've been thinking more recently with indie hackers, and there's been a lot of like micro acquisitions and people
mm,
selling stuff. It's like, yeah, you've got a couple of users, maybe you could sell it in for a few thousands, you get to five. There's been a lot of like figure, like some six-figure acquisitions of product. Do you ever think of these as an indie hacker when building stuff and you feel like, yeah, maybe I'll just build it and sell it?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I mean, I haven't had anything that I think is, uh, that would gain a lot of interest for people to buy, but it's definitely come on my radar of like, how do I build something to a point where it's like an asset that I could sell? Um,
Yeah,
because I remember there's a guy, I think this guy Noah was his name. He sold something called potion.so, which is like a website builder for Notion, or yeah, I think for
yeah.
Notion.
I think it went
And
viral last year.
yeah, and he sold it for like $300,000, and I was like, that's maybe he paid off his house, like that's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I do think about it. I haven't had that idea yet though.
Okay, yeah. I guess
Yeah.
we'll keep thinking about it then, and everyone that's listening, keep thinking about indie hacking and acquisitions then.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, we've come up on time. Just wanted to keep this at 40 minutes. So thank you very much, Joe, for coming on these sessions, and I hope to have you on the next one. And to anyone listening, we have these every Wednesday. I'm trying to be more like be consistent with them. We'll keep talking about like the business side of technology and how to ship products that actually sell. And until next time, keep building and keep shipping. Joe, do you have any last words before we close?
No, thank William. This has been awesome. Thanks for having me on. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Yeah, and
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing you all online and what you build.
Yeah. And everyone go check out Vocab Miner, so Joe keeps working on them. Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Have a nice day.
You too.
Cheers.
See ya.